it just comes down to the role description of a registered vet tech, and that is to work alongside and assist the vet. And I don't think that was serving me anymore. Welcome to episode 16 of the Pawdoption Guide podcast. I am Bethany Muir, and I'm your host, and this is your one-stop shop for the knowledge and advice you need to adopt and integrate the rescue dog of your dreams. Today was a big day for me. My 18 months of mat leave has finally come to an end, and I would have been returning to work as a registered veterinary technician at the same small animal hospital. I've been employed with them for just over 9 years now. But instead, I've chosen to take a big leap and concentrate all my efforts on the Pawdoption Guide membership experience whilst caring for my young family. And this is huge for me because I am probably one of the proudest RVTs around. I have always loved what I do and have been an advocate for my profession while regularly enjoying the pursuit of continuing education. And I thought I had the coolest job in the world as a registered vet tech. You're always on your feet. You get to dabble in so many things. And, 1 minute you're prepping and monitoring a patient in surgery, the next you're taking x-rays, then you're running lab work, you're reading cytology under the microscope, and then, providing client education. There's just so many cool things that I would get to do on a daily basis. And I really love that variety. So the day-to-day work that I did was really everything I had dreamed of during the 2 years that I spent obtaining my college diploma for this role. That being said, working in a vet hospital is anything but perfect. Although I thoroughly enjoyed the tasks I was doing every single day, I seriously considered leaving my animal hospital a few times during my career there. And, in the end, I always chose to stay because the standard of care and the professionalism that hospital was upholding was, pretty unrivaled by the other places that I was looking at moving to. So I just really didn't think anyone could match it. But that's rare. Like the average tech only stays for 1 to 2 years in one hospital before moving on. And only, 5% of vet techs stay in the same job for 8 to 10 years. And that's a U.S. study from Zippia. But, I think it really does apply. And from my experience and my colleagues and the techs that I know in the field, a lot of them are regularly moving from hospital to hospital. So I'm certainly proud of how long I stayed at Chicopee and, the fact that obviously I felt called to stay there and that it really was a good home for me for the last 9 years. So how did I get here? Well, back in 2019 when I started Pawdoption Guide, I really had no idea when or if it would become a full-time gig. I merely started it with the knowledge that many techs dealt with burnout or short careers. And, at one point a while back, I had heard that the average career length for a vet tech was 5 years. And at that point, I was past that. Maybe that average was so low in part due to the fact that techs earn such a low salary, and so it can be easily matched by another job. And then there's shift work or the physical demands of working in an animal hospital or, even just like the clinic atmosphere. Those could have been factors too in why the career length was so short. But that stat was really an eye-opener for me, and it made me really think that I should have a plan for what I want to do after working in an animal hospital was no longer feasible for me. There are some technicians who do stay in the field long term, but I would definitely say there are a lot less of them who have children. And it's quite popular in the tech field for people to not have kids. You know, they're fulfilled by their pets, and their pets are their kids. And that was not my scenario. I love my pets, but I always knew I wanted children. And the birth of my 2 children drastically changed my priorities from career to family. I quickly realized how much time I would be sacrificing with my kids if I worked rotating shifts as an RVT. So, there would be weeks at a time where I probably wouldn't see my kids dropping them off at daycare in the morning. I would come home after a long day's work and not see them until the next morning. And I decided I really wasn't okay with this. I'll be the first to acknowledge that, that takes a lot of privilege to be able to choose that, that's not something that you're okay with. And I know that I'm lucky financially to be able to have security that I can make that decision. So when I went back to work following my first mat leave, I was able to negotiate a stable work schedule with no rotation. However, in doing that, I had to relinquish most of my participation in any surgery duties. And honestly, I remember just crying, thinking about it. Still gets me upset to just think about it, because that was almost unthinkable for me. I really loved those responsibilities, and my identity as a tech was fully wrapped up in them. Yet I did it because I couldn't imagine the alternative. So, it was most certainly the right choice for me, and I did get used to the new norm, but my job no longer held that balance and the satisfaction that it once had. And this, along with my second child coming along, really was the tipping point for my in-clinic career. At this point, I started pivoting how I was supporting families adopting dogs from the one-on-one consulting to an online membership model. And based on my experience serving a few families, I had really realized that it would be much more efficient to just provide them all my dog adoption resources ahead of time and my expertise just up front, and allow them to really self-serve while they were going through the process. And then I could provide that routine support rather than, feeding them the information bit by bit as they take each step. Along with working on my membership, I've really created so many resources with Pawdoption Guide, like the Pet Friendly Kids course, the Walk Your Dog with Confidence mini course, and the Application Survival Kit. And they have all enlivened my passion for dog rescue and adoption. I had no idea that I could be so fulfilled by something other than my RVT duties in an animal hospital. And so with this personal growth that came, I had more awareness that I had to continue pursuing this passion of mine. The nail in the coffin, so to say, was when I set out to write my resignation letter. I did what most people who despise writing do, and I Googled resignation letter template. And the template I came across looked great. It had all the necessities plus a few optional things. And one of them being to mention a memorable achievement, a big accomplishment or the highlight of your career. And I thought, sure, how hard could that be? Well, I must have sat on that question for hours, maybe even days. I just kept reliving the last 9 years as an RVT at a small animal hospital. And, there were so many moments where I did take on leadership in the clinic and I brought something to fruition or I showed initiative. I could think of many things, but I could not find one thing that felt worthy of that title, worthy of a memorable achievement, a big accomplishment, the highlight of my career. Every example that came close to that kind of had this mental asterisk for me beside it for one reason or another. And the truth is, as a veterinary technician, you do so many tasks, right? Like I said, you're just always on your feet. You're doing so many different things in one day, right? The accomplishments are really many, but a lot of the things that you're achieving are just outright expected of you. You know, if you compare this to thinking about a nurse and what a nurse gets done in a day, right? It's really similar. What you don't get, though, is the authority to kind of see projects through or tasks through the way you really want to. You're always overseen or managed by the vet or your boss. And, a lot of people aren't fed by completing projects or providing leadership. But for me, it was suddenly and kind of overwhelmingly clear that although I enjoyed the tasks that I was performing as a tech, I was left feeling unrewarded because I couldn't take full responsibility for my accomplishments. I don't want you to get the wrong idea and think that I resent my workplace for this revelation. I honestly don't think that I would have had a different experience recalling a 9-year career at any other clinic. The really joyous or impactful memories for me all really surround that camaraderie and the experience you have working as a team with a really small group, or even with my individual colleagues. Those were the best moments for me. It just comes down to the role description of a registered vet tech, and that is to work alongside and assist the vet. And I don't think that was serving me anymore. In comparison, with just 2 years under my belt as an entrepreneur, I can name 10 things or more that I'm immensely proud of accomplishing and that have just provided me with such career growth, such personal growth. And, with that question, I had the clarity I needed to turn my side hustle into a full-time gig. Pawdoption Guide and the membership experience is undoubtedly the way onwards and upwards for me as an RVT. And I really do see it that it's a continuation of my registered veterinary technician career. This business wouldn't exist if I wasn't an RVT. It's a lot of my skills that I learned in clinic, in, client education, as well as, animal behavior and animal nutrition, just so many facets of my RVT career that feed into this business of mine. And so, I couldn't have one without the other for sure. So it really is the way that I'm moving forward and the way that I want to be an RVT at this point in time. And I'll never say that I'm not going to go back to working in clinic because I did enjoy it so. Maybe that will be something I want to do again someday. But certainly right now, I need to pursue this passion of mine and see it through. And I'm so excited to just help as many people find that pet adoption can be accessible for them, help them rescue the dog of their dreams, and make sure that they're fully satisfied with the bond that they've made with their rescue dog. So I'll take a little moment to share a bit more about the Pawdoption Guide membership experience so you have an idea as to how that works. So I'm really close to launching this. Right now I'm just getting all the information up and organized on the platform that's hosting my membership. But like any other membership, you would log into a page and it basically has a resource for every part of the dog adoption process. There's 5 sections to the Pawdoption Guide membership experience, and it starts with dream, because you definitely have to have a goal in mind and you should have a vision so that you're not lowering your expectations based on what you see when you're searching, and that you're really upholding what your needs are and your wants are, and what your family's needs and wants are. Then second is the search section, and that's where you're going to learn how to do a a great rescue dog search and how to make good habits so that you're doing so efficiently, but also getting the best results. And that's where my wonderful Southern Ontario dog rescue spreadsheet lives. And that's where, you get to make great use of that resource, whether you're using it every other day or you're using just once a week. It's really amazing. And I share a lot about how to use that alongside Pet Finder, because Pet Finder is a fantastic tool, but again, has its limitations. So how to use those two and make sure that you're really making the most of your time when you're doing searches. Then I've got the apply section, which hosts my application survival kit, which is so all-encompassing, but also some additional resources to basically drive home one of the most important parts of the process, which is just filling out an application and then succeeding through the interview process. And so I hold your hand through that and make sure that you are knowledgeable and well-researched and you feel comfortable and know what your strengths are to really excel, because that's such a pivotal point for adopters. And most people who are giving up or want to throw in the towel, that's their point of contention. That's where they need to be putting the most work. Then the adopt section is briefer, and that just has like the loose ends that you need to tie up as you're finalizing the adoption with that dog, some contract policies that are common or not so common, and how you should handle any surprises there. And then we move to the integrate section, which is probably the most lengthy because it's so variable about how your integration will proceed when you bring your rescue dog home. But I give you the basics for what you need to do when you bring your dog home, and then also how to follow your dog's lead and make sure that you're giving them a smooth transition, keeping them comfortable while also giving them a really good foundation and building a really great bond with your rescue dog, because of course they're going to need some time to decompress when they come to your home. And I want you to make sure that you are going to be satisfied and you're going to have a well-mannered part of your family in this dog. And of course, for people who are adopting puppies, I've got them covered too, from all the puppy basics, house training, crate training, their diet, everything. And then within the integrate section, we have a how-to library. So we've got things like the clicker training and a place command and introducing your dog to your dog or introducing your dog to your cat in your household and how those things should go down. So suffice to say, I'm really proud of what I've created here, and I know that it works because these are the same tools that I used with my clients that I was consulting with one-on-one to help them adopt dogs. And now it's just in like a self-serve format so that everyone can make use of it, and I can help more people at once by doing regular Q&As with them and making sure that everyone's needs are being met and everyone's questions are being answered. So yeah, that's basically how the Pawdoption Guide membership works. And there'll be a monthly option or a yearly option that you can subscribe to so that, if you just want to be a part of the membership for 3 months, you can do that. Or if it takes you a lot longer to find your dog, you can, really be a part of the membership as long as you so choose. And my recommendation would always be at least, 3 to 9 months, depending on how seasoned a dog owner you are, how long you want to stick around after you've integrated your pet. But from my experience working with clients one-on-one, it usually takes a max of 6 months to find your dream rescue dog. It really just takes a little bit of patience, but it can also be as quick as the first one you've applied for. So I've had that situation too. So if you're interested in getting a rescue dog and you don't want just any rescue dog, you want to get that dog that you have always dreamed of, this is the way to go. I have all the resources to set you up for success in this process. And, if you have any questions, just reach out via Instagram or Facebook, or join my membership waitlist at www.pawdoptionguide.com/membership waitlist. I'll drop the link in the show notes as well. And if you enjoyed today's episode of the Pawdoption Guide podcast, please take a screenshot, post it in your Instagram or Facebook stories, and tag at Pawdoption Guide. Really, thanks for tuning in to hear about this pivotal point in my RVT career. I'm really glad to have you on the journey.